Time. This is live on Facebook and we are recording. So if for some reason you have to jump off or you've got a colleague who has to miss today, then they can catch this on our YouTube page, Arts Build's YouTube page. We have a special channel for our shared services workshops. I'm Amy Loudermilk, the program manager for Arts Build, and our mission is to build community through the arts, and that's why we provide these shared services workshops so that our arts community collectively can be supported by organizations like HR Biz Solutions that Miss Lynn Talbot and Angie Bandy, who are with us today, represent. For those of you in the audience, we have limited your ability to unmute and to share screen. So if for some reason you have a question, feel free to plop that question in the chat section, or you can use the reactions button and raise your hand, and Angie or I will be glad to let you have the floor. So today, Miss Lynn, I will let you take it away. And usually Lynn has some great information and it's just jam-packed with information. So we will try to keep this to an hour just to respect everybody's workday. But with that, Miss Lynn, I will let you take it away.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. It's great to be here today. So today we're going to talk about how to create budgets in the nonprofit world and how to work on reports, how to save and memorize reports, and then just some different kind of reporting. So unfortunately for QuickBooks, they don't have a QuickBooks for nonprofit version that's like a sample company that I can use. So I'm using the sample company that QuickBooks provides. It's in QuickBooks Online Plus. And so it is a landscaping company, but if we'll just all think of it as just income and expenses, donations and expenses, that'll be fine. So it's really the only option, because doing the reporting, I think we really need to do it, live. And so I want to make sure that everybody can see my screen here that has the sample company pulled up here. And I make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. Can I get a thumbs up from somebody? Let's see here. Yes.
I'm seeing the screen.
Okay, good. Because sometimes it's kind of funny. I'm going to move this screen share over here a little bit. So when we go to the QBO nonprofit, and you guys may have the QBO Plus or you may have the QBO Advanced, they're going to look very similar to this. The Advanced is just going to have a little more features and a little more robust reporting. So we're not going to get into all that fancy stuff because I think a lot of you are just on QBO Plus, and it should suffice for today. So what I want to do is, just a second, I'm trying to get my PowerPoint up. We'll just review, budgeting. So the first thing you're going to do when you go to your budget is you're going to go to this gear icon here. And most of you already know how to do this. And there's a little tool here called budgeting. It's under the tools right here. So when you click on that, what's interesting to know about QuickBooks is that you create your budget and manage it and manipulate it in one area, and you run the reports in the reporting section. So it's a little bit confusing when you go to run a budget report. It won't let you manipulate it right there. And you're like, well, how do I change this budget? Because I need to change it. So you change it under the gear icon and budgeting feature. And I just created a quick budget here, but I'm going to show you how to add a budget. You would just add a budget here. And if you've got one and you want to follow along with me, just click on your budget. You could just edit this budget or open it up. But to add a new budget, it'll come to this screen, and we can call it 2021. We'll just call it new budget since I already have a budget in there. And of course, your fiscal year will populate here. Your fiscal year may be different than the calendar year, and you could populate which fiscal year you were doing. You're probably going to be working on something like 2021, but maybe you are starting in June and you want to start your June budget. Maybe it's June 21 to June, May 2022. And then you can decide how you want to do the intervals. Most people do them monthly. That's the way the budget is, but you could also do it quarterly. If you're a smaller nonprofit and you just want to report quarterly, it's fine. This is an important button here, pre-fill data or don't pre-fill data. So if you don't pre-fill your data, you would do what's called a zero-based budget. That means this screen is completely blank and you get to fill in from scratch all of the numbers. Now that's a lot of work if you have a lot of chart of accounts, which a lot of you do. If you have 100 or 200 chart of accounts, you're going to have to enter those every single month. That's a lot of work. So I would tell people to opt to go ahead and fill in the actual data from maybe the previous year, and at least you'll populate what was there, and then you can go in and change it from there, manipulate it from there. So I'm going to ask it to pre-fill data from 2020, and let's see what, and then don't subdivide by customer or class. You could do it by class, but right now you're not going to create a budget by class. You're just going to create an overall budget for your organization, and then later on you can run a profit and loss by class or by program if you choose. So right now we would say don't subdivide because you would be here for a year trying to get the numbers in there. So again, this is a sample file and it didn't have last year's data in it. So I went in before the program and just created some data for last year, just put some numbers in there so you would have something to work with. And so this is a landscaping service, and we're just going to say this is what they did last year, their income. They have a little other income, and then here's their expenses down here. Now, since it populated it already, I can go in, I'll go ahead and create this budget, and then it's going to let me click on these separate little categories and see how it opens up, and now I can click on it. So if you wanted to add something to this, you could, or if you wanted to say, okay, none of these numbers are relevant this year, we're going to go to the budget, and you know your budget, so you're going to go and say, okay, what's our January look like? What did it look like last year? It looked like 8,000. This year it's better, and we're going to budget 10,000. And you may have a way that you get these numbers. That's 100,000. We'll do 10. And then you may have a way to get these numbers. You may be getting these numbers from the treasurer or from ticket sales, whatever it is that you do. One of the nice things about this feature is, see this little button? When you mouse over it, it says click to copy the values across the rows. So if you are a nonprofit that's like, look, we just pretty much do 10,000 a month, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. It's hard to say, but that's what we do. You could click this button, and or if you were in this button, you could click this button, and it's going to populate 10,000 through the whole year. Because often you do have a set amount. Maybe it's your insurance, maybe it's your rent. That's just a set amount every month, and that's going to kind of speed the process up. But like, this is a landscaping company, so January, February, March, they're not really big. And then in May, June, July, and August, you see they have a lot of income, and then they didn't have any. Maybe they went on vacation in October, and then they had a big project in November, and this is what they did at the end of the year. So you can go through and change any of these numbers if you want to. You can just change them to what you need them to be. Now, one of the things real important to note here, is this little save button down here. Often when you're in QuickBooks working, it's saving things automatically, but in this budget, you have to click this save button in order, now it says your budget saved, in order to get these numbers to save in here. A lot of people will do all of this and then X out and go back to the report, and they've lost all their data. So just one little quirky thing to have in mind there. And again, you can go down and look at each, this is just their income category. And then down here, they have their fuel cost, their equipment rental. And then, so somebody like you might have, your insurance. And let's just say it is $200 a month. And for those of you just joining us, we're creating a budget. I'll just go back through real quick. You go up to the gear icon, which would be up here if I was in the regular window, and click on it. And then below it, you'll see the word budget below the word in the tools category, budget. And we've created a new budget here. So when we skip down to this line, I think we were down here just looking at, let's say, advertising, and maybe, see, they go way up in the summer and then they go down, but maybe your advertising is something that you have set with, you have requested, you know, somebody to do your marketing, and let's just say it's $1,500 a month. That's what you're budgeting. You can click the 1,500, and instead of having to enter it, we're going to use this handy dandy little tool. And when I click on it right there, it should, my computer's frozen. There we go. It should populate all the way over. And so it did that all year. And that's a quick, easy way to do that. And same thing when you go down, and QuickBooks is doing something funny. It's holding this line here. So I'm going to click save to get it to quit holding that line. Sometimes this sample file gets a little, you know, kind of buggy. But you can go down and change anything that you want. You just click on the area. And again, I'm going to click save because it's got something highlighted up here. All right. I'm going to X out and show you back. So if you were to get the gear icon and budgets, if you already have a budget, you would just click on, you know, the budget, and then you would just edit. You can always delete it, but you would just edit it from here, and it'll bring you back into it, sort of like a spreadsheet, really, just sort of like a spreadsheet. We've got lots of people joining late, so I hope you can catch up with us. So, again, just going down and adding, if you know your insurance expense each month, you can go click on this, you know, click on this, do the little button and do it all the way across. Now, what this budget isn't going to do is it's not really going to, well, it is going to bring you the bottom line. They've added this. So this is your sort of bottom line. So as you're creating your budget, you can go over here and look and see where you're at. You know, that's always a good thing to do. So let's say we've gone in here, we've created our budget, we like it. You can edit it anytime. And budgets, as you know, are just, they're just an estimate and a guess, because, you know, who would have guessed last year's budget would have included all this, you know, pandemic and Zoom meetings and things like that. So you can change your budget at any time. And so I'm going to click save and just get out of this particular budget now that we have it saved and everything. I'm going to X out. So say I want to run a budget report or budgets to actual report. So the reports, again, are going to be over here in the report section. Manipulating the budget and creating it is in the budget section here under tools. That's how you get to this window here. So we're going to go back over to reports. And for a lot of you, there's so many reports here, and you're like, I don't know where budgets are. Just go up into the search button and type budget, and you can get your budget report, or you can get your budget to actuals. Let's just see what the budget to actuals looks like today. And like I said, I had to create a budget, and this particular file only has data in it for a couple of months. So it will be a little bit awkward to look at. But this is saying that January 21, this was our budget, and we actually only brought in $410. So this is where we are, and this is good. I mean, we're under, I mean, this is bad. We're under, you know, $9,000. So the actuals will be down here, and then your budget here, and it starts populating the percentages. So when you get down to the bottom, you can see where you are, you know, and those numbers, you know, change as you get your information filled out and you're accepting things from the bank feeds and things like that. These numbers will change. So you want to make sure that you've got all of your information in January and it's reconciled and we're all good. Then we can run that budget to actual, because it's really what happened and everything's, I call it tied out or completed. So this looks a little funny just because there's not a lot of information in here, but that's how you run your budget to actual reporting. And you can customize this if you want. If you wanted to add and make it super complicated, you could do, you know, by classes or things like that, or you could do it by quarter. So you could go up here and customize it. And then I like to do the one that says delete the rows without a 0. Sometimes you can do that as well. Or you can say show in red if they're negative. And that's always nice to do because you can kind of see that a little bit better. And there we go, only accounts with budgeted amounts. So we're only going to show that. We don't want to show all those columns that we didn't budget for, all the extra stuff, that maybe hasn't been used in years. And this will help it look a little better. So you can go filter through these. You can change the name of the header or footer, and then you can click run report, and it's going to redo the report, and it's going to put the things in red that's in red. So this budget's telling me that we budgeted all this nice stuff, and then we didn't really do so hot. So that's what this budget is saying. And if you bring it on over to June, July, so you can just bring it on over to June, July, and August. There is no actuals because we don't have June, July, and August yet, right? So for this particular one, we only have data through the end of March. So that's kind of how your budget to actuals will look. Do you guys have any questions for that? And I'll let Angie, if you don't mind, monitor the chat, because when I do the full screen, I can't really see it without having to put the chat on the screen. So feel free to ask me if I went through anything about budgets or budget to actual. I'm going to do this slideshow really quick here and just show you. Oh, there's all of us ready to work for you anytime. So when you're budgeting in QBO, I don't know how to get this thing off. You can update as needed, and you can create a budget in one template and then run the report in the other. So you create it in the template and then you run it in the report section. You can create a budget at any time. You can create multiple budgets. You can create a forecast. You can create, budgets so that you can present them to the board under multiple circumstances. If we get this $50,000 grant in June, this is the budget including that grant, and this is the budget without the grant. You see, so you can create as many as you want. You can also create what's called forecast. Same thing really as a budget. It's just say what you think is going to happen, the prediction. So we talked about going to the gear icon, click on budgeting, click add a budget or review it, edit it if you already have a budget in there. You can name your budget anything you want, and you can pre-fill with the data. We talked about that's kind of the easiest way is to pre-fill that data. So okay, so any questions about budgeting before I move on to P&L compared to last year? So I'm going to show you this slide, and then we'll go and do it, actually. So one of the reports that I see a lot of clients like to run, and ones that I run for my clients when I'm trying to help them figure out, well, what happened last year and where are we this year? Or where did you put this particular expense in a category? You can run this profit and loss, and of course for you guys, it's called a statement of activity compared to last year. You go to the report center, run a profit and loss, and you can go, you can click on it so it says this year, and then the total only. And then if you click this drop down button, I'll show you what that, I'm gonna hit escape, I think. I'll show you what that looks like there. So we're gonna go to reports, and we're gonna click profit and loss. And once we have our profit and loss, or you a statement of activity, we're going to click this year, and for you it may be this calendar year or this fiscal year, because yours might be different than that. We're going to display the columns by total. But see this thing that says select period? You can drop this down and you can say do the previous period, which would be the previous year, or the previous year right here. And I like to do the percent change, just kind of tells me what's going on, and I can see if something looks a little out of whack. So we're going to click previous year and percent change, and then we're going to click run report. So I'm going to get two columns here. This is January, this is this year for 2021, and this is the total for 2020. So of course, this only has 3 months of data, and this has a year of data. So we can say, well, maybe that looks good, but maybe I want to compare year to date to year to date. So if you want to do like apples to apples, we're going to compare January, February, and March of 2021 to January, February, March of 2020. So we would say we would either say last quarter, right there, last quarter, or you could type in January, you could do a custom date, January 1st through that. Total only, because we're not really going to divide this up by months, although we can do that one later if you want to divide by months. And then we're going to do the previous year comparison. And again, we'll run the report, and these numbers hopefully will change. Yeah, so it was 151, but now we're comparing apples to apples, and it gives you this information pretty well here. January through March 2020, January through March 2021. So this company, is doing this right here and this last year, and so it's nice to to see all the difference. And they'll have a total income down here. They've got quite a bit of income in the previous year than they do now. So you can go down and just compare everything and look and see where you are, and does it make sense? But a lot of times for companies, or for nonprofits, we'll be looking at specific things. Like we're saying, well, this year you spent 640, but you didn't spend any last year. Where did you put it? Maybe it got put in another category. And one of the things you like to do is present data on a consistent basis. You just want to be consistent about where you're keeping everything. So this is a good one to run when you're kind of wanting to see, maybe you're new at the bookkeeping, or you just want to look and see where are people putting things in your chart of accounts, and want to keep it, consistent. So these little drop downs are great. You can do like last quarter, and then we could do by month. Let's see what this looks like. It's going to give us a big report. Here's January, February comparison, March comparison. So these little buttons are great, especially this one right here. You can drop down and do all kinds of things. So let's say for some reason you like this report, the January, February, March. The board wants this report just compared to last year, not necessarily a budget, but just compared to last year. Like, look, we're trying to make a budget. Here's 2 years running. Let's put these years together and figure out our budget, for next year. So if you want to save this report, you can save this customization, because sometimes it takes a while to get all this stuff. You get it just like you like it, and then the next time you come to run it, you're like, I can't remember which of these buttons I pushed. So we're going to click Save Customizations, and we're going to give it a name. So we're going to call this Profit and Loss Q1 by month. How about that? And if you wanted to create a reports group, some of the nonprofits will have a group that says like board reports. You could certainly create a boards report group and add that to the board reports. And if you needed to share it with somebody in the organization, there's nobody else on this sample file. So if I click that, it'll bounce me out. But you could share it with a specific person. So say you just wanted to share it with the treasurer. When they open their QuickBooks, they'll see that report. If you don't share it, only you can see that customized report. So it's just good to know. And we're going to click Save Customizations. Oh, shoot. I clicked that in. Profit and Loss Q1 by month. We're going to click this Save down here. And then you're like, okay, well, where is it? Like, where do I go find this, right? We're going to go back to the report section. And you may not have noticed that at the top of the report section, there are these different tabs, standard, and these are what you usually use. And if you put a star on something, it comes up here into your favorites report. So if you like something down here, you can click on it and it'll populate up here. See this custom reports? This is where the reports are that you just created. So this is our profit and loss Q1 by month. And I guess that's the name of this dude that owns Craig Landscaping. So you can, create that, and you can of course edit it. And it's going to take you right back. You can share whatever you want to do. But let's see if you just want to open. You can export it, and we'll just click on it. So there we go. We just click on it and it'll open up, and there's your report. So that's how you save we used to call them memorized reports, and now they just call them custom reports. So if you wanted to create a group, like a shared board reports, then you could share with individual people whose names who have their own individual logins to QuickBooks. Do you have any questions about how to create a report and a customized report? All right. So one of the other reports that I know you guys like to run is something called a report by class. And that would be maybe by program. So a lot of you will have programs. I'm thinking of like the theater center. They will do programs maybe by the name of the thing that the program that they have. So if it's like, Charlotte's Web or whatever, they will call it that, and they'll put all the income, ticket sales, and then all the expenses, paying for props and things will go down there. And then they have sort of like a profit and loss by that particular program. And so if you do that, you would have to turn on classes. So if you guys know that you have turned on classes, or that you use classes, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If for some reason you're like, I'm not quite ready for classes, you can go to this list right here. And in QuickBooks, you'll see the classes right here. If this button is not here, we simply have to go turn it on in the account settings. And I'm going to do that quickly as well, because if you have your QuickBooks, you're welcome to open your file and follow along with me. And then if you don't see something, just type it real quick in the chat, and Angie can interrupt me, and we'll help you find it. But if you did not turn on the classes, then this little button's not going to populate. So you would go to the gear icon, and under account and settings, this is kind of the meat of your QuickBooks. It sort of, controls the way things populate in QuickBooks. And so we're going to go down here to the advanced settings. As soon as this finishes populating, there we go, down here to this advanced setting. And see this accounting. If you are on accrual accounting, then this is what this is. If you want to close your books, you click that little edit button that was over there, and you can close your books. If you found out you were cash, you could move it to cash. QuickBooks will always default to accrual. And so you'll want to, if this is not your fiscal year, then you want to change it. But most of you already have that situated in there. So, whoops. We'll go back to the account settings, back to advanced. And right here, this is where you have your account numbers. You guys, a lot of you do have account numbers, but if you want to toggle them off, you can. Right here is track classes. It will usually default to off, and you just need to simply click that little edit button and toggle this over to green. And then if you are real strict about your classes, if every single expense in your organization really needs to have a class on it, you can click this button, and it will say, before you hit enter, or you hit enter and you forget to do a class, it's going to send you that little warning. Hey, you didn't do a class. It's going to be in red. And if that gets annoying, this is where you go and turn that off. Either way. So we'll just click save. Now, when we go back out of here, we'll go back to that gear icon, and there we go. My computer's running a little bit slow. I don't know. So we'll go back to the gear icon, and there's our classes right there. When I click on classes, now this company doesn't have any classes, so there's nothing here. And when you want to add a class, you're just going to click new, and you're going to give it a name, and you can do subclasses. So say you do have, maybe you have outreach, and part of your program, and part of a lot of the nonprofits program, is doing outreach. And maybe you have 3 different ways you do outreach. you're in the schools, you do something online and you do a benefit. And so you can certainly do outreach, and you can certainly have 3 classes under those. But when you start getting a lot of classes, like more than about 10 or 15, it becomes cumbersome to do your books. So in general, you're going to pick 3 or 4 classes, maybe a little bit more. And those classes are also going to correspond to how you file your taxes on your 990. So the person that does your taxes can tell you, yes, I need income and expenses for these, whatever, 5 categories. That would be your classes. You would just click new and create, a class there. So if you were to, if I had some classes in here and you wanted to run a profit and loss by class, you would simply go to the profit and loss. Now they do have one down here called profit and loss by class. You can click on that. But if you wanted to, a lot of times you're just in the reports trying to figure out what you want. Like, I want this and I want this, but I can't quite figure out how to get that in QuickBooks. So you're messing around in here. So you can do things, you can do it, from here and see if it works. So this is year to date, again, profit and loss year to date. This drop down menu also has one that you can do by class. So let's click on classes and then we'll click run report. Now this one doesn't have any classes, so everything comes out as not specified. And if you run your report, you might see, your 3 classes here, and then you might see a few things in the not specified column. And those are the things that maybe you're just, sheer overhead, maybe your insurance or, your bank fees or something like that, that you're not really going to assign to a specific program because it's just generally administrative work, So most of these not specified are going to fall into general admin. But it's a good rule to come in. A good thing to do to come in and run it and then go, oh, I need to class these. Or, maybe you didn't know how to class them because it's a little confusing. We bought a bunch of insurance and maybe it went to a couple different programs, or you bought a bunch of supplies and it went to a couple programs. You could open them up and then reclass them. So say if you opened up this, these are all the things that are unclassified. And if you just open one of them and you say, I know this needs to go to a specific class, you would open it up and then you would see the little drop down menu for class. See, here is the class tracking here. And if I had some classes in here, I would hit the drop down and I would see my classes, I would click it and then move on. So that's how you kind of look to see if you feel like you've classed everything that's supposed to be classed, at that time. You would run the P&L by class, and then you would just click on the non-specified and see, do these need to be allocated to those income and expenses for the classes. And that's something that's sort of an internal thing that each nonprofit will do a little differently. One of the things that I know nonprofits like to do is allocate labor. So if you've got a director and maybe a couple of employees, they're not just overhead, they're working on certain programs. And so a lot of times nonprofits will give us, say, yes, we had a big golf benefit this month and the director's salary, this month, 80% went to that. Or, in other months, maybe it's just 1% or 2%. And maybe there's different people that you hire that are, spread along 3 different classes because they do a lot of things. So that's one of the things that you can think about as well. And it just depends on how you like to do your reporting. So, all right. So that is really it for my how to do reports and how to do a budget. That's really all I had for today. So now I'd just like to open it up for questions. And really, if you want to, I don't know if you can, they can unmute themselves, or do I have the ability to unmute people?
I can do that if they want to raise their hands,
Okay.
or I think we've had several in here that I think Angie has responded to.
Great.
So I think we heard from Gladys, and then Miss Flo had a question that I received a direct message on. Is the $50 for QuickBooks on TechSoup a yearly fee? She says it still lets me open it on my phone, but I don't want to find out it's not completely usable.
Okay, well, TechSoup does have an annual fee for the nonprofit, and there's two. I'm not sure how you're getting it for 50 because unless it's old, unless you've had it for a long time, because now it's $75 a month a year. So $75 a year for QBO Plus, and I believe 150 or 160 for the QBO Advanced, one time a year, and that's it. So if you've got it for 50, it must be a carryover from the past. So just be sure to keep that. Maybe you'll have that. Maybe you'll have that $50 for life. And then I will show you one of the ways you can find out what your price is and when the next renewal is if you go up here, and I bet you it's not going to let me, since this is a sample file. Of course, there's no fee on it. But if you go to that gear icon and under account and settings, you will have one here right under company that says subscription. And if you click on that, you'll get a big menu that said you are subscribed to QBO Plus. Next due date is, and it will tell you, and then it'll have the credit card that it's going to charge it to on that date. So right in here will be a little menu that says, a little tab that says subscription. Does that answer the question?
And Ms. Flo, feel free to raise your hand. We do have, excuse me, one hand raised, but Flo had a second question. Could we get a quick review again of the TechSoup products?
Yeah, so there's just the two, we could go to, you can go to TechSoup.org and just type in QuickBooks and you'll see the two products. Now they have a desktop version too, but here we're just talking about the QBO Plus and the QBO Advanced. And the QBO Plus is pretty robust. Most nonprofits need that. If you get over $4 or $5 million, you probably would need the advanced. Or if you get government grants, it has a little place to help track those government grants. Federal grants have to have some special reporting, and so we always recommend the advanced reporting so that you can do that. So TechSoup.org, type in QuickBooks, and you'll see the two different products there. QuickBooks Online, and it shouldn't be too confusing. There's just the two, the 75 and the 100. It's either 150 or $160. They do change the price on us quite often.
So I've unmuted Miss Ann Rushing. She had a question for us. So Ann, I'm going to lower your hand if you just want to jump in there.
Hi, Ann.
Hi. All right. I was wondering, so I've come into our QuickBooks system where there are a lot of classes already created and, line items already created that we don't really need anymore. Or, so I was wondering about cleaning things up and how that works if you already have stuff that you don't need to use anymore.
Yeah, and that's typical of a lot of nonprofits because you change and things change and names change. So you're in luck because the next session is how to clean up your QuickBooks chart of accounts and how to merge and hide, vendors, or extra, things that you have in there. So, but yes, you can always just edit and hide those classes as well. Since I don't have a class in here, I can't really delete one. But let's see. For your chart of accounts, it's very simple. When you go into your chart of accounts, you just would be looking through and just say, look, we do not use prepaid expenses. Now, QuickBooks will often populate just what it thinks you want when you say you're a nonprofit, and you might not need any of that. And you go over here, and instead of view register, if you do the drop down, it just says make inactive. And that way you can make it inactive. Are you sure? And then you can always reactivate it later. If you think, oh, now we need that, you click this little gear icon and see where it says include inactive. You can do that. And then it pops back up here. See how it says deleted? And then you can always go over and make active or just keep it the way it is. So that's a way to make something inactive if it's just not been used. And if it's not been used in 3 or 4 years and it doesn't need to be, just make it inactive. And that way you're not scrolling through all this kind of garbage to get to the one that you want. Does that help, Ann? Oh, she's muted.
I just unmuted her.
Okay.
Yes, that's a big help. And just to make sure, like, making things inactive, you wouldn't do that unless it's not been used, because you'll probably need it for your tax purposes for that year. So waiting until
Right.
your fiscal year's over.
Yeah, so if you were, like, say if I was to make this inactive and it had a balance, something that happened in 2021, it would still, because QuickBooks knows, it tries to be helpful, it would still put it on your statement of activity, and it would have the word deleted next to it, which of course we're all like horrified, like, what does that mean, deleted? It's not really deleted, it's just hidden from the so the average person doesn't click on it and keep adding to it. So sometimes we will hide something for the year and say, stop putting stuff in this category. It needs to go in this other category. And then at the end of the year, when you run your reports, you can unhide it, run the reports, or we can open this up and move this to where you want it to go. And then that's zero. And then you can go over here and click hide. But when you hide it with information in it that's relevant to report you're running, it's going to show up and say the word deleted. So that's kind of good. It's going to give you a little safety net there. Good. All right, who else has a question? We've got lots of people on here, so I really want you to feel comfortable asking anything. Just raise your hand, and we can go through any type of reporting that I can, try to list here. Some of you missed some of the budgeting at the beginning, so if you have questions about that, we can do that again.
And also, as a reminder, we're recording, so you can go back to the YouTube page and catch what you missed as well.
That's good. There's also this tags that QuickBooks has. When you go to this list right here, there's a tag, and a tag is sort of like a class. So sometimes people may need to use a tag rather than a class. And it's just a way to sort data, to give you information on the data. Maybe you're having, I don't even know what you would tag. There's lots of different things. Or maybe you're having a special, fundraising, and you want to see, and you're trying to get students to participate. And you just want to tag those that are students so that you can see who participated in it. It's going to go to the proper class, but maybe you want to tag something, or maybe you want to tag, a certain demographic or something like that. And then that just helps you in your fundraising, And you could run a report by tags and it would tell you. So QuickBooks has a lot of ways to get the data. It's just trying to figure out through the reporting process the best way to do that and how to manipulate it. So you have lots of reports here. Look at all these reports here, and yours will be a little bit different since it's nonprofit, but you can go down, and I just encourage you to click on them and see what it is. And then you can get your head around all these different reports. And if you've got employees, you'll have employee reports. And these are sort of some things for the accountant, like trial balance and things like that. But I encourage you just to go through and click on these and see what they are. And then if you like them, put a star on it, and it will populate up here. If you want a specific report, you can click on it and put it in custom reports to save it. Any questions? All right. So y'all gonna go and do all your reports now, huh?
Well, if there are no further questions, Miss Gladys asked if Lynn, if you could share your contact information so that they can reach out to see if they want an individual session.
Okay.
And Lynn can tell you all about that when you reach out to her about how they conduct those. So really appreciate everybody being here today. I hope you've taken something meaningful back to your organization. I know Miss Lynn always has a lot of great information to share with us, and QuickBooks isn't the most fun application that I know we all have to deal with. So thank you for guiding us through that. just wanted to let everybody know that we will be meeting again this time next Thursday. So next Thursday, April 22nd at 10:30, we'll be meeting with Elizabeth Allen, who is with First Volunteer Insurance Services. The insurance that she's going to be covering is liability insurance. Hi, Summer. So please join us if you have any questions about liability insurance. Again, we will be Facebook Live. We will be recording that. So if for some reason you're double booked, you can catch that later on our YouTube page. But thank you again, Lynn, and thank you everyone for joining us. And hopefully we will see you and hear from you again soon.
Yeah, and then don't forget, in a month, we're going to go over how to clean up your chart of accounts, how to merge clients, merge vendors, merge classes, things like that, how to clean up your classes. So that's going to be a great one to have too. And I will ask you, if, since I don't have a file that has all that information in it that I can share, there's no public one I can share, if any of you would like to volunteer your nonprofit, and we can help clean it up while we're there. And of course, we won't look at sensitive information like payroll or anything. But if you think, gosh, this is fine, whatever company you have, it's going to be public information. I'm happy to help do that and then clean it up as we work, because it is a little hard for me. I have to go back and create things to merge before the class. It takes about an hour to create it. Then once I click off of this sample file, it all gets deleted and goes back to where it was before. So think about that. If you're thinking, let's be the guinea pig, and you can get your file cleaned up, while we do it. Just think about it. Okay.
Thank you for that opportunity, Miss Lynn. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, everybody, we're ending about 10 minutes early, so go and enjoy that extra 10 minutes in your day, and hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday. Take care.
Bye.